Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another special episode of Herschel Talkers. Georgia coming off. Oh, yeah, make sure and rate and subscribe for us. Trying to get those views up on YouTube. We're also posted on Facebook, 247 sometimes. But if you don't mind doing a subscribe, a like, and comment. Georgia coming off big win over Auburn, 27-6, dominated fashion. We're still rolling with Stetson Bennett, the mailman. I will say still skeptical about that going forward, but he looked good last week. I believe it was 1 touchdown, 17 for 28 for, I believe it's 240 yards. But great dominating win over Auburn. We're going to have our buddy Tennessee Tony as we preview the Tennessee versus Georgia game this weekend. Big top 15 matchup. Tony, a good friend of ours, will be joining us. Here he goes. How you doing, Tony? Thank you, yeah.
Yeah, my bad. That always happens.
What's up, buddy?
How are you, man?
Good, man. Hey, good shirt. Nice shirt.
Yeah, it's funny. I work from home, so it's I've had a golf shirt on all day. I got athletic pants on, but I've had a red shirt on all day. So I had a call with the manufacturer earlier, and they know me and my president are big Tennessee fans, and the one rep, he's a Georgia fan. So they would give me a hard time because I had a red shirt on. So I had to go change it for this.
That was awesome. All right, big matchup this weekend. It's number 14, Tennessee versus number 4, Georgia. Give us your thoughts on your big win over Missouri last week and what you think about the season. I know you guys are got a lot of motivation coming to the game.
Yeah, I thought so far I'm pretty pleased. South Carolina game, I think that the score would have been a little bit more lopsided in our favor. There was we were 1 for 11, 1 for 12 in third down conversions. So if they were to move the chains, a lot of that happened on third down, of course, and we had an opportunity to move the chains and keep drives going. Missouri game, I thought we did a really good job. Of course, we got Mr. Cade Mays back home at Tennessee, so I thought they did a really good job of running the football, establishing the line of scrimmage. I actually watched the game again on Sunday and kind of saw the same thing. What Pruitt was talking about is you still don't see the intensity. A player maybe 10 yards downfield, but people are letting off their blocks and so forth. So still need to learn to play with that intensity that is going to put us back or have us to contend with the Georgias and Floridas of the East. But so far, I'm pretty happy with the season so far.
Can you see that?
Yeah, no, I see it.
Yeah, 35-12. I actually made some picks last week. I actually liked Missouri. I think it's plus 12. So I thought it was a really impressive win. I feel like you guys are trying to bring that same pedigree of Georgia's trying to kind of punch them in the mouth, run the football, and you got one of the best or the best offensive line in the SEC. So I feel like Pruitt's definitely building the program down there, and I wanted to get is Jared going? I call him Guantanamo Bay, but Garantano is he junior? Is he senior? Is it?
Man, I don't know. He's somewhere in there. He's he's a fifth-year senior. What's funny is, of course, with COVID, the season doesn't count, so there's a possibility he could come back next year for a six-year. But not sure he would. But yeah, he's a fifth-year senior.
So, in your opinion, is this the best offensive line since the Philip Fulmer era? I was going to ask you that. In your opinion,
since the Philip Fulmer era, well. Saturday will be a big determination of that, of how far we really progressed. I mean, if we go there and can't move the ball 2 yards, no, it's not. But there was an offensive line back in 2012 with Antonio Richardson and with Tyler Bray was quarterback, Juwan James, Chris Scott. That was a very good offensive line too. 2007. I believe, 2007, we had a line, I think, when Eric Angel was quarterback, and he only got sacked 4 times all year. And we threw the ball a lot. That was Cut's year. He came back, or his last year before he left. But 2012 we had a really good O-line, but I don't think star-wise it was compares to what it is now in 2012. But those guys really gelled together and played well, in the passing and run game. But I do think it has, one interesting thing is if you look at it when Botch is what I call him, but when Pruitt arrived on campus, our lineman average was 288 pounds. So that's what our starting offensive line average was when he got there, and that was from the debacle with Botch. But now the offensive line I think it averages 306 pounds, I believe. You can check me on that, somewhere in there. So we've added, an average of about 20 pounds over the offensive line, but it also fits the mold of what Pruitt wants to do. And you mentioned kind of lining up and running the ball. That is what he wants to model it after Georgia and Alabama. That's what he knows, and that's SEC football, and it comes back down to it. I mean, you can throw the ball around like Air Raid, Mike Leach and stuff, but eventually to win championships, you got to be able to run the ball and play defense. So I think he's got the good blueprint for that, and I think we're starting to get some athletes in there.
Yeah, also I want to mention it's interesting. You guys coming in, I believe it's 8-game winning streak, longest in the SEC. So that's very impressive. What do you see as? I know you guys started out really bad last year at 1-4. What do you think Pruitt did to kind of turn it around? Because I know he could have lost the team and lost the culture last year.
Yeah, I think that even if you look at the BYU game, I mean Georgia State was completely coaching. And that was a bad learning experience for Pruitt. Still no excuse to ever lose to Georgia State when you're an SEC team. But, we treated it like a preseason game, running players in and out. We thought we'd be able to use it as a scrimmage, and we got behind and then we kind of got, worried about it, and then eventually lost. But the BYU game, we had chances to win that game, and you saw some progress from week 1 to week 2. The season kind of fell on its head a little bit at Florida, and then you guys at home last year. I think we started out at that point like a 1-4 or something like that, and we had a scrub in the middle. But we turned it around, I believe, as senior leadership on that team kind of took over. Juwan Jennings, a couple of those players from last year really stepped up and turned the season around. Now, our winning streak's 8 games, longest in SEC. I believe it's tied for the longest in the nation too. Army, we're tied with Army. Some people say, "Oh, you've not beaten anybody." Well, one thing that I've always said is until we beat the teams that we're supposed to beat consistently like we used to, then we can't really say, hey, we should beat Georgia and Florida again, because, back when, the 90s, which this game has a feel to it, it was Tennessee and Florida fighting for the first all the time. And then Georgia kind of creeped up, and when y'all got rid of Jim Donnan, hired Mark Richt in 2001, and y'all started to, becoming an impact there. But, I just think really, the 8-game winning streak, people can say, well, you've not beaten anybody, but that's what we're supposed to do. So Saturday will be the test, see if we can continue it to 9. But, I don't take anything away from the kids. And one thing that they're doing is different, is they are learning how to win some ball games and overcome adversity. So for so long, it didn't seem like Tennessee would ever get a ball to bounce their way. And it really did seem like the cloud was over everything. But now it seems like, the South Carolina game, for instance, the ball bounced up, hit the Carolina player and the hamstring on the punt and gave us the ball. We were able to down it and go out with a win. But those things are starting to happen that way. And the thing is, we're playing ourselves into that. We're not making mistakes. We're not killing ourselves. So that's a good sign for progress of a team.
Yeah, I've been really impressed. Us being good friends, I always pull for you guys, of course, when they're not playing Georgia. But, I thought it was really great. You turned it around last year and went to a bowl game, beat, Indiana. And, I never really had any ill will towards you guys, kind of like I think we both hate Florida. So
and South Carolina.
Yeah, exactly. So I know you love that game.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, since you'll transition there, you think Muschamp's gone this year? Hot seat, 0-2.
Yeah, man. I think you got to get rid of him at this point. The question is, if I'm a South Carolina fan, is who you going to get? Because the roster, to me, is kind of depleted a little bit. I mean, they look like Tennessee did a few years ago. When the coaching changes, when you got a walk-on quarterback or a transfer quarterback, you have a freshman who's supposed to be a star who's all of a sudden sitting on the bench. What is that kid thinking? So he's basically losing a year of experience for a quarterback for them not to come in and win anything. So that decision there doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, Linsky wasn't bad last year. I think you put him in seasons that doesn't count. Think about this. It doesn't count for his eligibility. You're not blowing a year. Put him in, let him get the experience. So I just think Muschamp he's a great defensive coordinator, but it's just like any job. Eventually, you get to jobs and you can't do well with it. You just aren't fit for it. I don't think he's fit to be a head coach. South Carolina needs to, focus on, finding a good coach at a smaller school or something and try to grow it that way. You're not going to get a big name. And that's what, my friends in Carolina, that are Carolina fans, think they're going to get Bob Stoops or somebody. They don't understand Carolina's not really on the map of college football like it is in Columbia, South Carolina.
Yeah.
And who wants to go play Clemson every year?
Exactly. And being, SEC East.
Yeah, exactly. Play Georgia. Yeah, think about it. Georgia and Tennessee continue to rise, and then you got to play Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Clemson every year. That's 33% of your schedule. Who wants any part of that?
Yeah, you're basically looking at 8-4, 7-5 every year.
Yeah,
program.
If you're lighting it on fire, my opinion.
Oh yeah, I think they're still living in the Spurrier years. That was 11, 12 wins or whatever it was. So.
Yeah, they are. It's like I told one of my buddies before the South Carolina game. He was texting me. He's a good guy, but we were talking, and I said, guys, buddy, if you can't win an SEC championship with Spurrier and the talent you had, you're never going to win it. That was your chance, to really do that. You're not going to have the talent. There's no coach that's going to come to South Carolina. Lou Holtz had them kind of where Spurrier could take over, and there was connections to Lou. I lived in Columbia at the time, and there was some connections between Lou Holtz and Spurrier, as we all know, and he kind of got him to there, but it's not going to happen again, So, and they've had some – one difference is with them, that a big difference in Tennessee that I want to bring up that nobody talks about is you got to be aligned from the president, the chancellor down. And South Carolina is not that way. In Tennessee, when we let Philip Fulmer go, a lot of the Haslams, which I'm not a huge fan of, a lot of those guys, the money donors had a lot to do with the program. Shiano was basically one of the Haslam's picks. He was writing such huge checks at Tennessee. But now when we got Plowman, who's our chancellor, she was one of the biggest advocates to get Cade or get that switch where he could play. And that's the first time that they said since Phil Fulmer era that chancellors and presidents have actually got involved with the football aspects to try to help the team out with SEC and so forth. So I think like any organization, you got to have everything's got to be aligned from the top down. And I think Philip Fulmer did that when he came back. He's got everything aligned for one outcome, and it's all working together. So that's really good to see. It reminds me of like the 90s and the early 2000s.
Right. Yeah, speaking of that, I was going to ask you that too. So what do you think about the Cade Mays situation? I know, coming and playing his old team.
I'm glad he's there, but I don't like the rule change. I think if you start letting these kids transfer interconference with no possibility, with no, rules or regulations around that, it's going to cause a mess because, coaches put a lot of effort in to recruit these kids, and they may come on campus and may sit for 1 or 2 years before they're ready to play or what the case may be. And, but kids, we live in an instant gratification world. Everybody wants to have, reap the benefits of it right away. Can't do that, so you got to kind of stay your time, work the course, blood, sweat, and tears before you get to that, point where you play. So I don't like the rule change going forward because they did make it going forward, correct?
I think last time I heard Sankey said, since it's the COVID year, 1 year, because it was, Cade Mays was able to transfer, and then Otis Reese was another defensive back over to I'm not sure.
Mississippi.
Yeah, and it was just kind of like it's kind of like negative for us because they were, the Otis Reese guy was saying, racism was there and Kirby was selling him all this stuff, so it's just a bad look.
It is. This year, I think you take everything out. I'm glad to see football. We've talked about that. Different feelings and aspects on that, but it's fun to see, man. Shoot, Georgia sells it out. I expect to sell out with you guys Saturday. It's.
Hey, we'll say that from the screen last week. It looked like more than 20,000.
Yeah. I looked at my wife and I said, "Look at Georgia." I said, "They don't even care." Brian Kemp over there, he's filling the stadium, but they. My wife said that has to be cutouts, and I said, "No, that's people in there."
Yeah.
So,
I heard the student section. I was reading yesterday. I think they got slapped on the hand. They said they got to space out the student section because they're
condensed in. It looked like everywhere. It looked like everywhere was condensed. I didn't see any spacing. Maybe groups of 50 and then space, but it wasn't no family and then 6 feet apart from another family.
I actually had a buddy ask me to go this week, and I was like, I don't know if I want to sit.
Yeah, I had the same thing. I had a buddy of mine that Ernie, my friend, and we were talking about going too. And yeah, I'm just not ready for that. I mean,
And then
here in
raining.
Florida, yeah, I'm at home,
78%
man.
chance of rain.
Yeah, here in Florida, this we don't have any. I mean, it's completely now no mask, no anything. All stadiums can be full. So the NFL, the Jaguars and Dolphins are still sticking to the guidelines they had. But of course, our governor came out and said, "Hey, you can pack it if you want."
Wow.
There's no mask mandate or anything anymore here. Scary.
Oh yeah, I call them if they're not wearing a mask, I call them gunslingers. I want to see them out.
That could be it. That's a good one.
Transitioning, looking at the matchup. Got your boy here, Jared. I always mispronounce the name, but how you like it? How you like him this week or this year so far? I don't think he's turned the ball over. And then you got our boy Jim Chaney as your OC. How's his progression so far this year?
So well, I mean, again, he's done good the first 2 games of being a game manager. He's not one that's going to come out and light it up every game. He'll have a game every now and then where he's 300 plus yards, 4 touchdowns, and look like the 4-star. I think he was the number 1 rated dual threat quarterback or number 2 coming out of high school. He looks like he's making better decisions at this point. He looks like he's more comfortable. You can tell. I noticed it by his feet. If you go back and look at his feet a couple times last year and then look at it this year, it seems like he knows it slowed down for him a little bit. Now, this is the first time the kid's had a same offensive coordinator 2 consecutive years, and it's also running the same system with Jim Chaney. However, I think that it really and truthfully falls on the shoulders of our offensive line. Speaking of the big number 73 right there. Those guys, if we can't run the ball, it's going to be a long day. We have to at least run the ball. We have to get, I think one of the biggest keys to the game for me, the 2 key is going to be the defensive line, Georgia, offensive line, Tennessee. I think that's where you're going to find out what happens because it's going to be a long day for us, or we can move the ball and put it into the 4th quarter, which I think we have a chance at that point. I think they can do it. But if we play behind the chains, it's over. Like if you guys get us in, 2nd and 13, or if we get penalties in 1st and 15, it's going to be a long day. We have to move the chains. We have to be able to run the ball consistently. We have to get in a position of 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, even 3rd and 2 to be able to continuously move the chains. I don't think you're going to see a shootout between either team. I don't think Bennett's capable of doing that against this defense. I think we're better than Auburn. I think Pruitt's a way better defensive coordinator, and I think he knows what he wants to do. This is also the first game we've had our complete defense together for this year. So we got Schamberger back, Bryce Thompson back healthy again, to be able to stick with those receivers. And Schamberger is really important because he's our star back. He's our nickel guy. So he can cover the slot guys. So for the first 2 weeks, we've had true freshmen on slot guys. First time ever playing. So, and Shi Smith was a slot guy for Carolina, and he torched them. He didn't know he was playing until right before the game. So I think with that said, I think it really falls on the offensive line and not so much Garantano. He just has to make the plays when the play's there and don't force it.
Right. Yeah, and then we talked about it. I'm still in shock that, Stetson Bennett is our quarterback, 4th string. They call him the mailman, but
because he used to wear a mailman hat. I actually Googled it and said, what does a mailman hat look like? And there's quite a different variations of what it looks like. I'm interested to see what kind he wore.
And then I'm having, my buddy sending, are you a Stetson man? Remember the 90s cheap
Stetson
cologne?
Yeah. It smelled like crap. Yep, I remember that.
So I think it's a good ruse story, but I think this movie's going to end. If you guys don't get us, we got on the road against Bama. I'm definitely pulling for the kid. I don't see it. But he did look good last week, 1 touchdown, didn't turn the ball over. But what else, I rewatched some of his highlights. He just seems like he doesn't have the long ball. He can make short, intermediate throws.
Yep.
He moves around a little bit better than Fromm, but some people are comparing him to Fromm. I don't know. I like Fromm. He might have a little stronger arm, back shoulder throw. But, you are giving him another week of practice. They keep saying, JT Daniels. But from what I was reading, the kid's still working with the, scout team. I guess.
Yeah, I don't think they would pull the plug on him, right away. If he goes south and Daniels is practiced some, they may put him, which I did hear he was practicing some. But, I think, like I said, no disrespect to Auburn because they've been great for years, or a good football team. We haven't. but I do believe Pruitt's getting the athletes he needs to run his defense. You notice it last year towards the end of the season is the first time I really saw him do blitzes like slot, corner, where it really didn't know where it's coming from. And then a couple of times you may see it coming from one side. And as soon as it hikes, they're dropped back in coverage. The blitz come from the other side or in the middle and so forth. So there's a lot of different things. And I was at the Gator Bowl and had really good tickets, and we did a lot of that then. And you can see Pruitt if you watch him. And somebody came out and said that this week. He's a great in-game man. Cole Kubelik said he's probably the best in-game coach on defense in college football. If you watch the Indiana game last year, he was telling the defense sometimes what was coming before it was happening. So I think he's a great defensive mastermind. I just don't think, if you don't have the athletes, it doesn't matter what you do. A few years we've lined up against you guys, it didn't matter if our quarterback, was amazing. We didn't have the surrounding pieces all together. So now I think we're starting to get them. Next year's recruiting class, keep adding to it. But I definitely think that, we're starting to get the stars and the athletes that we can, stand on the same field with Florida's and Georgia's. So it'll be a big test though Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited. It's we got a number beside our name. I don't care about COVID and who's on the top 25, but now it's fun, man. I was sitting on the couch last night watching Marty and McGee, which I'm not a fan of either one of those guys. Even though McGee's from Tennessee, but they were hyping the game up, and Marty was he didn't see it, but it's fun hearing them talking about it because they said it feels like the 90s and the early 2000s again. When you're talking about Tennessee, Florida, and Georgia, and anytime you cut it on like Sports Channel or something like that in college, it's talking about that game this week. So it's like the biggest game, man. So I'm stoked about it.
Exactly.
We'll be getting some barbecue delivered, my wife and I, from Bono's here in Jacksonville.
There you go. How's the weather looking there, though? Anything from the hurricane on your side, or?
No, man, it's sunshine here. It's been nice all week. I think it's going the other way. So we haven't had. So in the summer it rains every day at some point. Pretty much. But then it warms back up. But it's not, the temperature wise is not much different than Charlotte. It's maybe 5 to 10 degrees different. Now the difference will happen when it starts to get cold there, like late November, December, January, and February. It will be like 65 degrees here. So it's not too much difference.
I got you. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be rainy here too. It's going to be raining in Athens. And then, speaking of that, and the point spread has moved. I think it started out 14.
Dropped.
12.5. And what do you think the rain, speaking of that, do you think the rain's going to?
I think the rain's going to affect it. I think, one thing I've thought about is, Stetson Bennett's like 5'9", right? 5'10". He's short.
Yeah.
So, you think about it. I'm 5'10", and I grab a football. Yeah. Wet football's got a lot to do with it. Nobody's talking about that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But you see it. You see a lot of people, in high school and stuff. They can't hold on to that football.
Yeah.
Because it's so the ball's so big. So I wonder how that's going to come into play. And I definitely think that it'll affect it from the passing game even more. I think the passing game may have been tough on both sides. If we can get pressure on him, and same for you guys. I think it was going to be a kind of a slobber knocker fest, if you want to put it in those terms. And I think the game's going to be in the 20s. I could even possibly see one of the teams in the high teens, at the end of it. So I don't think it's going to be 38, 31 or anything like that.
Right. Well, speaking of that, give us your prediction. So it's minus 12.5. What's your?
I am going 27-23 Tennessee.
Okay.
And it's going to take a fourth quarter turnover that we get late in the game, and we're going to put together a Tennessee drive and win the game.
Okay, awesome. I can see that. Yeah, I'm definitely I was nervous last week just the whole Bennett, but I'm even more nervous because I think you guys match up with us more.
Yeah, I definitely think. You look at Auburn. Look at Auburn's offensive line, and I'm not saying stars are the all end all of all, but if you look at Clemson, you look at Alabama, you look at you guys, there's 4 and 5 stars all over the place. So it says something. You get good players and you develop them to better players. Once in a while you may luck up and get a couple 2 stars or 3 star and develop them into a stud, but it's more realistic for that to happen if you have a team full of 4 and 5 stars.
Right.
Auburn's offensive lineman had like 2 2-star starting, a 3-star, and like 2 4-stars or something. Our starting lineman is starting lineup. Our center Brandon Kennedy's a 5th-year 4-star from Alabama, and he's flanked by 2 5-star guards and 2 5-star tackles. Now our backups are 4 stars. So as you see, we hadn't had that. When we played when Butch's last year, I mean, our offensive tackle, Marcus Tatum, was 278 pounds at tackle. So you look at the difference in that. I mean, that kid, he was a true freshman, I think, at the time, but we were just throwing bodies out there, and you can't compete like that. But I think now we're going to have the meat. I think those guys are nasty. I think Cade Mays, I mean, you saw it at Georgia for 2 years, but he can be dirty and play with a nasty edge on him. And Trey Smith's the same way, man. I mean, I heard him talk the other day to the media, and he wants to bury somebody. So it's and Georgia's their defense best in the country, in my opinion. So this is a great test. I think that, one thing, if you guys come out of this game and you beat us, I think you can really look ahead and say, okay, well, we got a defense that could possibly stop Alabama and be one of the top in the nation. But I do think we're going to pose some different challenges than y'all have seen yet this year. And we'll see, man. We'll see what old Stetson's got, I'm glad he's a quarterback right now, because I think we can shake him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think Pruitt's going to have something for him. Well, my pick's going to be 24-14 Georgia. I think it's going to be close, or I could even see you guys tied or even ahead. But I think the defense is going to take over, even though you said Pruitt makes good adjustments. Lanning's makes some really good adjustments. I think they're just going to fly around. I think Jerry Guantanamo, as I call him, is going to make maybe a couple of picks, maybe in the rain. We're going to force it. I like 24-14. Mailman delivers one more time, but it will be close. And my dark horse to kind of stand out, he was a transfer. He hasn't played yet, but I like Trey McKitty. He's tight end from Florida State.
Yeah. I actually heard he was playing this week.
Yeah, he's like 6'4", 6'5", 245, almost maybe kind of like a Pitts, maybe a poor man's Pitts, because Pitts is his man. But I hear he's a leader, and he's been really wanting to play. So
well, tight ends, I'm glad to hear that instead of Darnell Washington, because that dude's going to be a freak.
Yeah.
When he is a freak, but when he learns offense and stuff, man, he is. I saw him in the end zone against. He didn't catch it, but he ran to the end zone. Y'all's first game against Arkansas, and I was like, because it was between us to get him, and I was like, man, we could have used him this year. Right. But the tight end always kills us with you guys. I mean, what was his name back in 2001 that I can see him now, played in the pros.
Pope, maybe.
Yeah, across the middle, man. Yeah, across the middle, catching him, and that's what put you on that 4th and 5 hobnail boot call. Oh, yeah. So we have issues with tight ends. So I'm hoping. We come in with it. And that scares me too. You say that because our linebackers have been very, very poor in coverage. Henry To'oTo'o has gotten a little bit better, but you got Quavarius Couch, who's a running back from Charlotte. You remember him? He was 5-star, one of the best players in the nation, but he's playing inside linebacker with To'oTo'o, and he's not being great in coverage. And then his backup, who's going to be good too, is another converted running back who was kicked off the team at one time, Jeremy Banks, and went through a laundry list of things to get back in the good graces and get on the team. And he plays just straight downhill. He's just so aggressive. He's actually a liability to be on the field from a late hit or something like that. He just doesn't have that mentality. But you get one of those two in coverage, and I think I think we may be in a little bit of trouble with the tight end there. So I'm glad you brought that up. I'm about to give Pruitt and Ansley a phone call here in a bit.
There you go, man. So you got Tony's going with 27-23. I'm gonna go with 24-14 Georgia. One thing I wanted to ask was, do you think SEC East top to bottom is better than the SEC West? Top to bottom. I know you got Bama, but if you compare them, I think SEC East top to bottom might be.
Yeah, it's funny. I haven't really thought about that, but I would say because Arkansas is bad. I mean, even though they won last week, Ole Miss is going to score on anybody. Yeah. Mississippi State they're going to do exactly what I said before the season started. They're going to win some games they're not supposed to, and they're going to lose some games that they should win. That's just how it's going to happen. But I think you got, Kentucky's been disappointing so far. Vandy's Vandy. Missouri's not very good. So I don't know, man. I actually think the West may be a little bit, because after us, you got Missouri, Kentucky, Missouri, South Carolina, Vandy, and those teams are bad.
I guess I was talking about, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, all 2-0, ranked top 15.
Oh, yeah. Now, if you look at the top tier, I think
just like top to bottom. That's what I was talking about. Because, LSU, I think, is going to be down. Mississippi State, because, it's Bama and then Auburn. Yeah. I like looking at that. I like you guys beating Auburn. That's going to be a good matchup. Was it?
Yeah, I think so too, man. And we get better as the season goes along. We did last year. So even if we lose this game, man, I think we're heading in the right direction. Now, if we get blown out and we look like a team that's not supposed to be on the field, then it causes some concern from a Tennessee fan.
Right.
But if we play you guys tough luck, we're supposed to be on the field. Now, I'm done with moral victories. I think we're at a point that can't talk about it, but you do have to take some positives out of things that happen and progress during the season. And I think if we can, survive this, we got Alabama in 2 weeks, be another test. So, I mean, we could potentially lose 2 out of the next 3, but the rest of the games are winnable, in my opinion, until you get to the last one, which is Florida. We play that at home, and it's in December. The last time that happened was, 2001 after 9/11. I was down here for that game in Gainesville at Swamp, and we came in and beat them for Spurrier's last home game. So and I live in Jacksonville now, so I need somebody to shut the Florida fans up. I had first day of football, I had them come to my yard and they're doing this. So they quickly realized how intense of a fan I was. I don't even let them come over and watch the games with me.
Right.
So,
That's awesome.
not Tennessee. They can come over and watch Florida play because then I'll just pull against Florida, but not Tennessee.
Right. And another big matchup, get your thoughts on. So it's going to be Miami against Clemson. Clemson is at Clemson. What do you think about that game? I think it's about a 14-point spread, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, until I see somebody challenge Clemson, I don't see anybody challenging them. I'm gonna be honest. Trevor Lawrence is just another level. So it's hard to keep them off the board. And I think De'Aaron King, or whatever his name is for Miami. I mean, I think he's pretty good too. I think Miami's kind of the same boat as Tennessee is two prominent programs at one time who have suffered over the last decade plus. It's an opportunity for them. So and that's how teams dethrone higher teams. By giving that opportunity and taking advantage of it, continue to spiral their program forward. But I still think Clemson. I think Clemson's going to beat them by. I think they'll cover the spread.
Oh yeah. And one last question, because I heard it last night. It was a good comparison. So who's back more, possibly Tennessee or Miami? Because you guys are great in the '90s, Miami, 90s.
I think Tennessee from the consistency.
Yeah.
And I also think for the level of talent. I mean, from the level of talent we play against in the SEC. I wonder how Miami would come in and do that. If you look at your schedule and you had 4 top 10 teams you were playing that year. I mean, in the SEC, you got Clemson. I mean, North Carolina is doing pretty well, but I think if you put them in the SEC, they don't play the same. Same thing with Miami. I think the SEC has much more talent, and the elite teams. There's a lot more elite teams than just 1 or 2.
Yeah.
So I mean, any given year, you can look at 3 or 4 teams that could play themselves into the playoffs. Could be us this year.
There you go. I like it. Tennessee's back.
Now, if they make it to Georgia, the SEC championship, we go to playoffs, I will be at those games with COVID going on or not. So
yeah, if you guys upset us this week, Bama takes us out. I think that takes us out of the East. I think that'd probably be the nail for us, just because I don't see us doing Bama, and then the Florida game's gonna be tough. That's the 3. These 3 are kind of ones. No offense to anybody else. Who I'm worried about.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Heavy gauntlet.
Yeah. Ours was split up this year, thank goodness. But I got really upset about the LSU draw that we got. But if you look at it, I mean, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
LSU don't like they're going to be too good this year. I mean, they're still going to have talent. I think they're going to come around and they'll start playing well. But the 3 that I still think we go 6-4, 7-3 this year. So
it's good.
I mean, it's not what I want, but I do think there's a chance, even by saying that the reason I can't say higher is because they got to prove it. I mean, I've had 10 plus years of, hope, and, even in the good season, we finished up losing 3 or 4 games. But I mean, if we can win this game, it'll completely change the way I look at things. And I think it'll change the way the team looks at things. And, then we got Kentucky the next week and can't overlook them, but then we got Alabama. And I think if we can go into that game 4-0, Alabama's undefeated, then that'll be a lot of confidence boosters, and who knows what could happen from there,
Oh yeah, and you guys hung around with them last year, I think, except for that turnover on the goal line.
It would have been 6-point lead from Alabama in the fourth quarter, and Jared Guantanamo Bay ended up calling his own number and did a quarterback sneak, fumbled it. One thing too, I'll tell you this is, we went for it. Now it's against Missouri. We went for it on 4th down 3 times, 4 times, and we were 4 for 4, 4th and 1, 4th and 2 one time, and they were all runs or 3 were quarterback sneaks and 1 was run. one was a run, but the line just blew them off the ball against Missouri. But we hadn't done that in 10 years. Anybody.
Right.
Here's another thing. We ran a quarterback sneak from the 2-yard line to score a touchdown. So they bowled them in 2 yards in before quarterback sneak, and I was like, holy crap, I haven't seen that in a long time. So I'm excited about the offensive line. I hope everybody on both sides stay injury free, especially this year.
Yeah.
Make it an interesting game. It's going to be rainy. You know how it is with us and the knees. So hopefully everybody stays pretty healthy.
Yeah, our running backs too. Don't let Zamir White blow his knee out again.
Well, what's it? Cook's out though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what are they saying? It's a game time decision.
He's saying day to day, but he hadn't. I mean, no, I've been waiting on him for 3 years. He hadn't really showed me much. They got other stuff. They got like McIntosh, Kendall Milton came on.
Yeah. Well, you know, Pruitt is not announcing injuries or anything.
Huh.
He's not. So I mean, we could show up Saturday. That's like before the Missouri game. Bryce Thompson, you know, he played a few snaps. So I didn't know what happened to him, but just like before the South Carolina game, the first time we went out, Bryce Thompson was lined up at safety, and we had Danico Slaughter at the start, and I was like, where did this happen from? And you didn't even know. We still don't know why Sean Schamberger has not played for 2 weeks. There's no explanation. Not Spurrier, but Pruitt just avoids it. Avoids that.
Got COVID.
I mean, who knows? But you know, and then we don't know what happened to him. And then Trey Smith injured his pec. Is what I've read on the boards, but he won't answer it. He said he's not answering any more injury or COVID questions this year. So we may not be healthy. We may. Who knows?
Keep it close to the vest, as they say.
Yeah.
All right. You got any questions for me or anything? Get off your chest.
No, man. I'm just excited. You know, football's here. It makes my weekends a little better. Friday night's better, and I'm excited, man. I count down the days, man, to football on Saturday. So get my early morning workout in, and you know, get on the couch before 10 a.m. watching SEC game day or whatever, and get ready for football. So it's all day long.
Yeah, man. Sounds good. All right, man.
Yeah.
Well, appreciate you coming on, and good luck to your Vols.
Absolutely, man. Have a good one. Go Vols.
All
All right, bye.
Make sure to rate and subscribe and follow us at Herschel Talkers, and we'll have another great guest for you next week. Thank you.